In this example, we're going to determine the least squares regression line using Microsoft Excel. So, using Excel to fit a least squares regression line for data relating to height of a arm span for a group of 20 adults given in Chapter 1, Example 9. Now, I don't have the Chapter 1, Example 9 data here, but I do have it on an Excel spreadsheet. And it says give the answers correct to 3 decimal places. Always important to make sure that we give it to what it is. So, just drawing a quick diagram so I know. So, what is my explanatory variable? It said it was arm span, so let's write that there just so I can make sure. And my response variable is equal to height. Marvelous. So, what we're trying to see is height predicted from arm span.
Okay. So just taking a moment to look at what he's done. All he did with this little sketch was to make sure that you have the right x values and y value. He called it expansion variable. We call it an explanatory variable. Doesn't matter. But make sure you have them in the right order. Then the next thing that he goes to is this chart of values with a scatter plot. We've already talked about how to create this. You've got your values that you're going to choose for your analysis, and then you're going to create a scatter plot. We've done all of that, so now we're back to that tab. So far we have 3 tabs on our spreadsheet, right? One is the raw data. That's every data point from all 3 classes. Also on that page is the data that you've selected, right? Just a clean copy of all the data that you've selected. The second one is that table that we've spent some time creating, and we'll look at it again with the formulas on it that calculates your R value. And remember, you're also going to have the mean of the X's, mean of the Y's, etc. on that spreadsheet as well. And then your third page on the spreadsheet is going to be the data and your scatter plot. And so we're working on that page. So you're going to have 3 different pages so far. Now, when he's working on these, so he's going to take you through 2 different things. One, the pieces of information that you're going to need on your scatter plot. He'll do that second. But first, he's going to talk you through using Excel to find the regression line. And you need to know how to do both. Okay?
So how do you get the
Loading up Microsoft Excel, we can see the data. In fact, I've taken all of the spreadsheet. I included the scatter graph and the correlation or scatter plot as well as the data. Now, first things first, to be able to do this, you have to make sure that you have something installed. So when you click on data on yours, if you don't see this little data analysis button over here, you need to go to File, Options, and then all the way down here to Add-ins. That may take a short while to load up, but then down the bottom here, you want to do Manage Excel Add-ins and hit on Go, and make sure that you have this Analysis True Pack ticked. You don't need the VBA, just the first one. Now,
okay, so you remember we looked at that last time. If you want to check it, just go to your add-ins and check on Manage Add-ins and make sure that little box is ticked, because you have to have that data analysis tab on your screen to be able to make this work. Okay? So up in the upper right-hand corner there, data analysis needs to be there.
As soon as you tick that, you'll go and into the Data tab, and you'll notice this Data Analysis. So I'm going to click on that. Now, looking at this, what do I...
Okay, so his first click is then, after you've had that information, then you just go to your Data tab. Once you're on Data, then you just click on Data Analysis. Then it's going to bring up a menu. And of course, we're looking for a regression line, so you just choose Regression and hit OK.
See, well, there's lots of different options, but because we're doing a regression analysis, or least squares analysis, or some sort of regression analysis, I'm going to double click on that. Now, it's got data pre-filled in for me because I have done previous examples with this, but it's important to make sure that you get this input Y range and input X range the right way.
Yes, exactly. Make sure you realize that when you look at the drop-down box, the dialog box, that your Y value box is the first one and your X is the second one. So get in the habit of watching carefully about which pieces of information you need for what. So again, make sure that you pay attention to the order of the data, because it's backwards when in this formula.
ground. So the first thing is, you're looking at what was on the y value. Well, we were trying to predict height from arm span. So our height is our y range. Must make sure we get that right. And our x range then would be our arm span. Now, actually, that's all you're going to need to do, because when I click on OK, leaving all the rest of the options the same, it adds another sheet. And yes, lots of information there. But bearing in mind we're trying to do a least squares regression, what is it we're interested in?
Now you will include this sheet in your report. It'll be another sheet. It's a completely separate sheet from the others. And notice down at the bottom where it just says sheet 1, sheet 2, etc. Make sure that you're labeling those with which one, because we're going to be clicking through to look at these. So this piece of information needs to be included as one of the sheets in your report.
We're interested in a slope, and we're interested in a intercept. And if you look all the way down here to where I'm now going to highlight in red, then you get your intercept as 32.97. Yes, that's what we wanted. And we wanted our slope as 0.80. And something else to be very important or to be mindful of is that we get our r squared value there as well. More on that in just a moment. So there we go. We've done my analysis. I can go back and now write then, and I'm going to write down on a bit of paper the values that I've got. So A is 32.97195. B is given by that. So switching back to my screen, what did it say? Well, we want to give the answers correct to 3 decimal places, and so I'm going to say, remember that y is equal to a plus b of x. We now know from that data that a was given to me by 32.97195, and b was given by 0.80664. Now it says correct to 3 decimal places. Let's do that. Right, so y becomes equal to 32.972 plus 0.807 times the value of x. But let's make it a little bit more sort of readable and put some information in. So what we now know...
Okay, so pay attention to what he's going to do next, because x and y is just the general form for that equation. But your data will be choosing a specific information, so you need to make sure that you put it in the way he's about to do it with words. You could use variables just like h and a arm span, but really what they're asking you to do anytime they ask you to use descriptors is to make sure you're using the actual words instead of the variables.
Is that y, which is my height, is given by 32.972 plus 0.807 multiplied by my arm span. Now, why is this important to me? This actually helps me predict values for data that I don't currently have. Yeah, so I might have a piece of information that I didn't have. I don't know, I might be given an arm span that I don't have on my chart, and I want a way to predict the height. Okay, there is another way of doing this, and possibly a lot simpler.
Okay, so this, what he's written in red, anytime you're asked to describe what the model is doing, all you have to do is write down the words and the pieces he's done in red. Make sure you know what each piece does, and that will describe what the linear model is doing. The next thing he's going to talk about is what you need to add to your scatter plot in your report. So you're going to have another sheet with the scatter plot and your data on it. These things have to be there. Now, I'm also going to tell you that you're going to add a few other details, not too many, but a few other details that you need. So listen up as we go through this, because he does not include them.
So let's go back to our example. And there we go. I'm going to go back to my graph in sheet 1. And if I click on the chart and go back to design, you'll see that there's a button up here that says add chart element, which when I click, there is a trend line and linear. And it'll actually put that line on there for you. And when I...
Okay, so you clicked on the chart to get the menu for the chart, then clicked on design, add chart elements, and of course we're doing a trend line. That's another word for the regression line. And make sure you choose the linear one. It's a straight line.
Double click on that line. You'll notice that tab opens up again. No, it didn't click on what I wanted it. Yep, there we go. Trend line options. And scroll overview.
Okay, you could also just find the menus for this on your own, but it's a lot easier just to click on the object that you're trying to edit. We did this when we did the scatter plot. We were able to click on the values at the bottom, right? And then it gave us a chance to change our minimum and maximum values to fit the data that we had. Same process.
Here, we'll click on that, scroll to the bottom, display equation on chart. And so if I just move that up a little bit,
Okay. Hold on just 1 second. Let me back up a bit. All right. The only change that I want to make here to his video is that not only will you click on display the equation, you're also going to click on display the R squared value on chart. You have to have both of them. Those are ticks on the grade scheme. So make sure you click not only display equation on chart, but also display the R squared value. All right, so that's the only change there.
on chart. And so if I just move that up a little bit, what do we get? We get y equals 0.8066x plus 32. Now, obviously, Excel in this situation is giving it in y equals mx plus c format, rather than y equals a plus bx format. Doesn't matter, we can switch it around.
Okay, and you must. Don't leave it in y equals mx plus b, or mx plus c, I'm sorry. Make sure that you switch it around so that it's y equals a plus bx format. And I don't think there's a tab for changing that. You're just going to have to retype it. All right? Okay, now you have all the pieces to be able to do the regression line for your project.